17 of the fantasy football season. And if you made it to your championship, congratulations, and hopefully you get the job done this week. So here's a few wide receivers I would start this week. In time of recording this video, none of these players have been placed on the COVID or safety protocol list here. The first guy is A.J. Brown of the Tennessee Titans. So A.J. Brown, he came back last week for the Tennessee Titans after missing 3 ball games on IR with a chest injury. And he had a monster ball game, and he came back with a vengeance versus San Francisco. 11 catches, 145 yards, and a touchdown on 16 targets. So right here, the Titans also placed Julio Jones and Westbrook-Ikhine on the COVID protocol list. So A.J. Brown, it means more targets. It means more opportunity. And he's got an amazing matchup here in Week 17 versus Miami that gives up the 8th most fantasy points to wide receivers on the season. So Brown here, this guy's a physical wide receiver that you really can't jam him at the line. And this guy could burn you deep, and he runs all the routes. So this week here versus Miami secondary, I think he could have a big ball game versus them. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him in this one have anywhere from 15 to 20 fantasy points. And he's a wide receiver I would start this week. The second guy was staying in the same game is Jalen Waddle of the Miami Dolphins. So what a rookie season here for Waddle. And in my opinion, he could have been the best wide receiver in this draft class, but obviously Jamar Chase just a little bit better than Waddle in his rookie year. If it was any other draft class, he might have been the top guy, is Waddle. So the last few games for him, Week 12 versus Carolina, 9 catches, 137 receiving yards, a touchdown. Week 13 versus Giants, 9 catches, 90 yards. Week 15, he missed the game versus the Jets with protocols. And then Week 16 on Monday Night Football, another day at the office, 10 catches, 92 yards and a touchdown. So he's got an amazing matchup Week 17 at Tennessee. That gives up the second most fantasy points to receivers on the year. And it looks like Tua Tagovailoa, he only has tunnel vision to look at Jalen Waddle. Most of the other receivers on this team really don't do much. This guy's a target machine. This guy's a great wide receiver already, only in his rookie season. And what a great matchup at Tennessee. It wouldn't surprise me once again to see him crack at least 20 fantasy points this week. The next guy, Devonta Smith, another rookie this year in this draft class. And we had some decent rookies this year come out. And Devonta Smith, though, it's been an up and down year. Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle definitely better seasons this year here than the former Heisman Trophy winner, Devonta Smith. So the last few games here for him, Week 13 at the Jets, 2 catches, 15 yards. Week 15 versus Washington, who he's versing this week, 3 catches, 40 yards. And Week 16 versus the Giants, 5 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown. So this week here, good matchup versus Washington. And Washington gives up the 3rd most fantasy points to wide receivers on the season. And I know Smith's a playmaker. I know he hasn't always been making big plays and had some horrible ball games this season here. But I think him and Jalen Hurts, they get better as the weeks go on. And I think this week here, I think it's a decent game for Devonta Smith. 60 or 70 total yards, I think, in this one, and it wouldn't be surprising to me if he finds the end zone. The next wide receiver I would start is Darnell Mooney of the Chicago Bears. So in a tough season here for the Bears, he's one of the only bright spots, in my opinion, on the offensive side of things here for Chicago. So the last few games here for Darnell Mooney, Week 14 at Green Bay, 1 catch, 19 yards. Week 15 versus Minnesota, 5 catches, 63 yards, and 3 rushing yards. And then Week 16 at Seattle in a snowy ball game, 5 catches, 57 yards, and 2 rushing yards. So right here, Allen Robinson, we haven't seen him in weeks with his injury, and then he went on the protocol list. And right here, Darnell Mooney, he's taken the steps, and he's a Justin Fields favorite. So Fields here, if he starts in this game, if he's healthy, after coming off the ankle injury, I think Mooney will have a good game. It's a great matchup versus the Giants that give up the 11th most fantasy points to wide receivers on the season. And right here is a number 2 option or a flex option. I think Mooney's a good play this week, and the 5th and final wide receiver I would start this week. So Amon St. Brown of the Detroit Lions. So right here, St. Brown, it's been a very surprising season for him. And the last few weeks here, he's been one of the better wide receivers as well in fantasy football. Week 13 versus Minnesota, a huge game for him. 10 catches, 86 yards, a touchdown. Week 14 at Denver, 8 catches, 73 yards. Week 15 versus Arizona, 8 catches, 90 yards, and a touchdown. And Week 16 at Atlanta, 9 catches, 91 yards, a touchdown, and 19 rushing yards. So this week here, not the greatest of matchups at Seattle. But St. Brown, he's proven, no matter who his quarterback is, Jared Goff and Boyle last week, that he could go out there and put up numbers. And right now, he's a perfect number 2 wide receiver or flex option for fantasy owners. And at this point, he's the number 1 wide receiver over there in Detroit. And he's getting a lot of targets, and he's making a play, and he's a wide receiver I would start this week. So that's a few wide receivers I would start here for Week 17 of the fantasy football season.